Mighty Lindo here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Warhammer 40,000 and how to get excited for the hobby. What I wanted to talk about today was how to get excited to paint your army, or excited for the hobby, which is basically painting and building, right? And I know that a lot of people in the hobby, after they've been in it for a little while, they can lose motivation to paint. It's not that they're not having fun so much as, maybe they're not having fun, but it's more so that they just kind of get lost in the weeds. You just can't seem to get started. And I wanted to share some tips that I have found that helps me to get motivated. Yeah, so one thing I would recommend doing, tip number one, is just kind of immersing yourself in the lore and listening to audiobooks, listening to podcasts. Obviously, you can read the actual books instead of listening to them, as well as watching battle reports. That's another way to kind of gain excitement about the hobby. Kind of my second tip for getting excited is to talk to others. I know that when I got out of the hobby a few years ago, I didn't even know it, but one of the guys at my work actually was in the hobby as well, and he actually approached me at work and was like, "Hey, why are you getting out of it?" Da, 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 da. And he and I talked about it a whole bunch, and we'd always be talking about 40K, or he'd even show me, lists, or I'd show him some of the lists I had built in the past, and it kept that kind of excitement and that connection to 40K going. And so I think talking to others can be a huge boon as far as motivating you to build and play. And if you can find like-minded people to what you enjoy, that can be a big boon. Now, let's say that you don't have, that local friend or whatever, or obviously COVID's messing up everybody's social interactions, but it's actually helped a lot as well. There's a lot of Discords, there's Facebook groups, there's all kinds of different groups you can find via the internet to talk with people about Warhammer and about the hobby. And that kind of ties into one of my tips later for keeping momentum, but that's sharing what you're doing with others. If you're sharing with others, like I know when I finish something, I almost always take a pic of it, send it to my friends that play Warhammer and say, "Dude, check out this," and they're always just, "Oh, dude, that's so cool," or "Oh, that's so sick." And it just motivates you to keep going. It's kind of my last tip for how to become excited for the hobby, and that is take inventory. If you're new, you might not have as much inventory as somebody who's been in the hobby a long time, but I think almost everybody has something that they could work on. And so, yeah, go through the closet of shame, go through your inventory and see what you actually have, what you don't have, what you want, what you don't want anymore. And you can kind of trim down your collection as well as kind of focus what you want to work on. With this taking inventory, you can kind of establish a project for yourself. For example, what I've done recently is I have this bookcase behind me. On either side, I have a couple bookcases of minis. And on my very bottom one, which is kind of almost like my junk shelf, I have all of my old Marines. And I was just looking at them and just thinking, I am never, ever, ever, ever going to play these guys as Space Marines. Why would I? Primaris are better in like every way. And I know that can cause some debate or whatever, but let's be real. Primaris are meant to replace them. So, of course, they're going to be better. So, what I did is I actually just took one of my TAC Marines and I went and painted him up in a new color scheme. So, here he is in his new color scheme. He was a Blood Angel once upon a time. And I've decided they're going to be Chaos because blood for the Blood God. So I created my own, chapter, my own Renegade Legion chapter. Wouldn't be a Legion, it's not that big. But my own Renegade chapter of Space Marines. And in my head lore, they're basically pissed off old Marines that they're getting replaced by Primaris. So yeah, they're gonna go to Chaos, and most of them are probably going to be bent toward Khorne, since Blood Angels. They want the bloods and the rage. So that's just an idea of what you can do. You can, just by looking through your inventory, it can kind of give you some cool ideas. And kind of where that idea came from me to even take inventory was I was listening to a podcast, Independent Characters. They're awesome. Go listen to them. And they were talking about Chaos. It was a Chaos episode where they were talking about the heroes of Chaos. And I was thinking, because I used to play a ton of Chaos. I had something like 20,000 points of Chaos in AOS between demons and mortals. And I had every god. It was a lot. And so I have a bunch of Chaos bits left over. And when I saw the Marines, I was like, hey, these guys can be Chaos. Why not? And so they're going to be. But anyway, that's basically kind of the part one of this video, which is, getting excited for the hobby. And I kind of shared how those tips led to me, getting excited and painting again. I hadn't really picked up a paintbrush in, I don't know, 2 or 3 months maybe. No, that's not true. I was painting up some Skaven, but I haven't touched 40k stuff in about 2 months. And this got me motivated to paint some 40k up. All right. So now that we've established that we're excited, once you're excited to hobby, it's time to start. Just start going through, start painting, start building, start doing something in the hobby. And keep on doing those things that excited you in the first place. Keep listening, keep talking to others. You don't really have to keep going through inventory, but once you found that project, start and keep the momentum up. The more you do, the even more it will just kind of stack. It's a snowball rolling down the hill. The more you start and the more you do and the more you keep adding on to what you've done, by the end you'll have, a whole thing. Now, you might be thinking, okay, great, I've got a project now, but I don't really have time to do all that much. That's fine. So my Primaris Blood Angels army that I got behind me, I painted up 1,500 points in about 4 weeks. And 4 weeks might sound like a lot, but I don't know. All I did was, maybe, I don't know, 2 hours. No, that's way too much. Maybe an hour a day I painted. I didn't time it. I didn't say, I'm going to paint for an hour. I just, was excited. And so I'd pick up this guy. All right, let's go. And on to the next, and on to the next, and on to the next, until, after a month, I had a 1,500 point fully painted army. And I'm going to create a video going over the process of how I do that, as far as painting and what to prioritize and how to go about doing it, and how I go about doing it, I should say. Not saying there's a right or wrong way to do it. You can do however you want to do it, but just saying how I do it and the results that I've been able to achieve with it. So, we're excited, we're painting, we're hobbying, we're progressing, but oh man, you can kind of feel burnouts coming. Now, people will get burnt out after a different amount of time or whatever, but I find that the main reason why people get burnt out is one of two things. Either they've lost the excitement that they originally had at the start of the project, or B, they've just painted too much of the same thing over and over again. Which, if you're painting guard or Tyranids or something, or orcs, something horde with a lot of guys, you can get tired of painting the same thing over and over again. And so what I have for a tip to combat that, have a side project. Find some little thing, a kill team, or, this one character you just find interesting, or whatever, and work on that. Take a break from your main army that you're working on, your main project. It's okay, Yeah, you might lose a few days on your main project time, but we're not worried about that. because we're going to get there. And this is going to help us to get there. Another tip that I have for combating burnout, go play a game. Go play a game of 40K and you'll remember how fun it is. You'll be like super into it. You'll be excited to use that new army. Oh man, it'll look so good once it's painted up. And here's one thing, it's kind of annoying, and I know it can be rough if you don't have that many armies, but don't let yourself play with that new project until it's fully painted. Or at least like 90% of the way. With the Blood Angels that I painted up, that's exactly what I did. I had a game scheduled after Christmas, so I painted it up last December. And I had a game scheduled after Christmas. And I was like, okay, I have, this many weeks to try and get this done. And so that's why I pushed myself and just painted it, and I wanted it fully painted when I went to play. And honestly, I was pretty happy. I think I was like 95% painted. Like everything was base coated. 95% of it was done. And like the 5%, it was literally like 3 models or something that just needed like highlighting. So I was pretty stoked. And it looked really, really good. So that can be a huge motivator for you. Go play a game. Don't let yourself play with the new army until it's fully painted. And you'll be way more motivated to paint. One last thing that can help with burnout. Share your progress. Take pictures. Send it into, your friends, to Facebook groups, to Discord groups. And trust me, everyone's going to be hyped. Like, it's very rare that people won't at least think it's cool looking, and you'll get, jazzed about how well it's going. And here's another tip. When you send a group shot, when you have all of them lined up in a row, people aren't going to notice the little mistakes that you have or the little things that aren't perfect. They'll just see a cohesive unit and it will look really good. So share your stuff. All right, guys. Well, that will basically do it for this video. I basically covered every topic that I wanted to. So, how to get excited, what to do once you are excited, and how to avoid burnout. All right, guys. I am super excited to hear how this works for you. Leave some comments down below with how this has worked for you, what projects you're working on, and I'm super excited to see what you guys are working on. All right. Well, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll bring you some more. Thanks. Bye.